Hey, it's Pat with My Mind, My Power again, here to talk about how we score the ELA worksheets, pretty much everything that I've been sharing on the daily lessons page. I believe in a 5-point scale for daily work. And I'll go through that here in a second, but really the goal is to teach the students how to grade themselves and how to grade one another. There's a great moment that teachers kind of live for. It's where students will turn something in and say, how'd I do? And a response that we like to give is, well, how do you think you did? We want them to score themselves. We want them to go through and make sense of their work and say, what did you do well? And what can you improve on? And when students come and they will ask that question of me, I'll just walk through the scoring with them. So I'm going to go over the 5-point scoring with you here on my screen. As you can see here, we have a 5-point scale. That's typically what I score the reading responses on, a scale that ranges from 0 to 5. So at the beginning of the year, I teach the students of what a 5-point answer looks like, what an excellent answer looks like and sounds like. The goal is specificity and thoroughness, and we focus on the amount of detail and descriptiveness used to answer the question. Now, the students also are led to recognize that there's the opposite end of an excellent answer, and that's a blank answer, an answer that's not attempted, or an answer that's copied from another source. This could be right out of the book, it could be from an internet site, it could even be from a peer. And we're trying to value authenticity, we're trying to value effort. So as we teach, we go down and we say, okay, a 4.5 is good. It's specific and thorough answers. It's got good detail and descriptiveness, but there's one thing that you notice is that a student that uses a little less detail or descriptiveness, the space is not completely full. There's a little bit of space left. Now, of course, you use considerations for different size handwritings, and you encourage the students to use extra paper if they need to. But the idea is to be concise enough to fit it in the provided space, but detailed enough to cover the answer. The next rating is average plus. I picked this up from when I spent the summer studying how SAT scores were, or SAT writing was scored. And there was 2 average categories, as I understood it. There's an average plus and then an average minus. We'll get into that in a second. But the average plus is the answer continues to address the question, but it lacks a bit in detail or descriptiveness. Now, it doesn't lack a lot of things. They might leave out 1 or 2 certain points where you say like, oh, you could have put in a little bit more detail, but in general, you answered the question. The next level is average minus, and that is the answer addresses the question, but more detail and descriptiveness is needed. It stands out like, yeah, you get the gist, but you need to add a little bit more to make it authentic, to make it original. So one thing that I noticed in this over the past 7 or so years is the space is about half full. And again, you're making considerations for different size of handwritings. After average minus is below average. And that means the answer relates to the question. I can see a connection, but the approach is lacking in detail and descriptiveness. The space is less than half full. And what I've found is that the students that can see that they're at below average aspire or try to get to a higher answer. And often below averages are students that have chosen that they don't have time or they're not interested in that answer. They're just trying to get points. And we're trying to get them to the 4, 4.5, or 5 level through coaching, through self-aspiration, through exploration and things like that. And then there are, every now and again, there's a student that misses the mark on a question, and that's okay. That's part of the process. I have a hard time giving that student or awarding that student a 0. So the score that I would use is a 2.5, and that's an effort score. And that means the student did their best to answer the question. I might look at that question and say like, you didn't understand the question, but man, I sure can see that you tried. Effort questions or effort scores do exist. They're rare because most of the time those students are earning 3.5s through 5s. So this is one way that you can encourage students to score themselves or score their peers before they turn something in. So again, the goal is to help students to learn how to score themselves. You want to paint the bullseye, you want to paint the target before they shoot the arrow, not afterwards. So you always want them aiming at the same spot. So I feel like the 5-point rubric does this for them. Again, you want them to score themselves, to score one another, and have an idea of how they did on the work that they're about to turn in. I hope this helps. Again, you can always email me, patrick@mymindmypower.com. You can connect with us on most social medias. Just look for @mymindmypower. We look forward to hearing from you. Let's succeed together.